Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over how not to get scammed by your mechanic. Before we do that, please hit the like button. It's free and it helps get the video out to more people because there's more engagement on the video. So please just hit the like button for me. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's get started. So why do you get scammed by your mechanic? The main reason you get scammed by your mechanic is because you don't know enough about the car to know if what they're telling you is true or not. So it's a lack of education on your end. Now, it's not to say that I'm blaming you. Obviously, you're not going to know anything about the car because you're not a mechanic. That's the mechanic's job. Now, the problem happens is when you just take everything he says at face value. Your job as a consumer is to ask the questions to be able to understand what is going on with the car. Unfortunately, you don't know what to ask because you don't know exactly what's going on. So it's a mechanic's job to explain to you what is going on with your car in a simple way for you to understand. Now, a lot of mechanics are not going to be able to do this, mainly because they're not very articulate and they don't understand how to I don't want to say dumb down, but to make things simple for you to understand. For example, every time a car comes in and it needs brakes, I have to sit there and explain to my customer how a caliper works, how brake pads work, how a rotor works, and how the entire system comes together for you to be able to stop the car, and what wears out, what needs to be replaced, and why. That is my job as a mechanic, and I do that very well, I think. You know, if you look at my reviews on Yelp, I actually have really good reviews, and people are very comfortable with me because I explain things to my customer. But like I said, not a lot of mechanics will be able to do that. So it's your job as a consumer to be able to ask the questions for you to get informed. Now, the questions that you're going to ask are going to be very simple questions. Why do I need that? How does that work with the system that's being repaired? Why did it break? Can it break again? What do I do if it breaks again? Is there any other things that need to be replaced for me, to be comfortable with the repair? Is there anything else you need to tell me for me to understand what's going on with my car, because I really don't understand how systems work? Can you send me pictures, a diagram, or anything like that so I can really understand what's going on? Now, if you do this, if you start asking these type of questions, the mechanic will know that you are very interested in making sure that you understand what is going on, and they will be less likely to take advantage of you. Because a lot of times, a lot of mechanics will start throwing words at you that you don't understand, that's more like mechanic lingo, and they kind of confuse you and just say, okay, yeah, just go ahead and do it. Now, you as a consumer have to know how to ask these questions and what questions to ask, which I just mentioned. But it's a mechanic's job to try to explain things to you in the simplest way for you to understand. So if you do that, most of the time you're going to be okay. Now, the second problem that happens is that mechanics will try to upsell you, jobs and repairs that a lot of people say you don't need. Now, what ends up happening with that is that we are running a business here. So when we bring in a car in, we ask you permission to inspect it. We want to make sure that the rest of the car is in good shape, because what ends up happening with customers is that when they bring a car in, right, and I don't inspect it and I don't see other blatant repairs that are needed, and I don't tell the customer drives off, and 2 or 3 days later something else breaks, the customer comes back and gets upset at me because I didn't tell them that was an issue. Now, that's what happens normally. But as a business owner, as a mechanic, I have to know that I have to ask you for permission to look at your car and explain to you why I want to inspect your car and give you recommendations of what the car needs. Mainly, it's because I want to make sure that everything else is normal and there's nothing else that's going to cause you to break down, because that is my job. It's not your job to know whether or not your car's going to break down. It's my job. So I have to explain that to the customer, make them comfortable enough for them to give me permission and then give them any recommendations that they need. Now, what ends up happening is that customers are very jaded already, because every time they take the car to the dealership or anywhere else, they get a whole list of things that are needed. So the way you prevent that from happening and to know whether or not the repairs are needed is by you saying to the mechanic or whoever you're dealing with, what is needed right now? What is going to cause me to break down today or tomorrow or very soon if I don't repair it right now? What things can I wait on but are necessary, and what things are just maintenance that are going to maintain my car but aren't needed for me to drive the car every single day, right? And that's what I do with my customers to make them feel comfortable, because I already know these things, right? Because I'm a business owner, so I make sure that my customers feel very comfortable. So every time my car comes in and I inspect it, I look at the entire car, I look at the brakes, tires, suspension, engine, everything, and I write down everything that's wrong with the car, everything that all the maintenance that it's going to need right now and in the future, and then I make a list, right? Let's just say that the belt's about to break because it's all cracked, a hose is leaking, the brakes are around 20% pad life left, and one of the left tires has a nail in it, and it needs some maintenance because it's about to hit 56,000 miles, but it's at 48 right now, right? And at 58,000 miles is when it's gonna need a transmission flush and a coolant flush, right? So what I like to do is I like to break down the entire repair in blocks, right? So I'll say, okay, the first recommendations I'm gonna give you are like level A, which means that if you don't repair this, you're gonna break down pretty soon. I don't know when, because this part can last you another 6 months, but it's looking to the point where it could last you 6 minutes. So I highly recommend you replace this, because if you don't, it can cause you to break down, and obviously we don't want that. The B level items are items that are breaking but aren't at that point where they're like needed today. But there's something that you have to really be thinking about in the back of your mind, and whenever the budget allows you to repair them, I recommend you repair them. They might give you 6 months to a year, but start thinking about it now, because I can see that they're on their way out. And then the C level items I give my customers are things of maintenance, things that are not necessary to keep the car running right now, and they're not going to cause you to break down right now, but they're maintenance items that are coming up in the next 10,000 to 15,000 miles, and you have to start budgeting for that, because we are going to need to do some maintenance on the car at certain mileage. So start thinking about it now and start saving up. But we don't need to do it right now, but it's a good idea that we at least start thinking about it. And that's how I break down my customer recommendations. Now, if your mechanic doesn't do that, which I'm pretty sure they don't, because I consult with auto repair shops and they don't do any of the things that I do to make sure my customers feel comfortable, you have to be able to say that to your mechanic and say, okay, I understand you give me a whole bunch of recommendations because you want to make sure my car stays on the road, and obviously you want to make money, so you want more work. Obviously, it is what it is, right? We're trying to run a business. But tell me what I need today, and what I need tomorrow, and what I need down the line. So give me a breakdown of everything you recommend, because I want to do it. I want to repair my car. I want to make sure it's safe, and I want to make sure it's going to last me. But I also don't want to overspend, and I don't need a $3,000 bill right now. I have a budget. I budget every month for repairs, and my budget is this. What can we do that is necessary today? If you do that, that's going to prevent a lot of overselling on the mechanic side, and you're going to feel a lot more comfortable knowing that the things that are needed are taken care of, and the things that can wait for another day when you have the budget to do it. Okay, so if you do those two things, if you do that, you're going to be in pretty good shape, and you're not going to have any of these issues where people are overselling you repairs that you might not need right now. Because honestly, whenever we recommend things to you guys, we recommend things to our customers, they're needed. We're not good. Most mechanics are pretty good. There are out there, like shady mechanics out there, but realistically, those people never last. And you can see on the Yelp reviews, you can tell whether or not a person is being honest or not. So long as you keep that in mind, and you understand that we're trying to run a business here, and we do have to recommend things to you, but we do recommend things that you need. You might not need it now, but you are going to need it in the future. Okay, so just if you understand that and you work around it by telling mechanics, like, okay, what do I need today? Because I only got $400, my guy. So what do I need? Brakes? Okay, well, let's do the brakes. Oh, tires, because it's bald and it's about to burst? Okay, let's do a tire. You know what I'm saying? So if you do that, you're going to circumvent a lot of the issues that customers have. And the main issue that I always hear is, I went to the dealer, they gave me a huge list of everything I needed, I just came in for an oil change, and they tell me that I need a $3,000 repair. I don't know, are they lying to me? And people just don't understand. And unfortunately, shops don't understand either, that you cannot just tell a customer they need $3,000 worth of work when the car just came in for an oil change. Because people don't understand that, mechanics don't understand that if a customer doesn't see an immediate change in their car, they're not going to think that the money that they paid is actually going towards repairing the car. For example, like if the car doesn't start, you take it to a mechanic, you pay your bill, then the car starts. You know that money went to fix it, right? But if you came in for an oil change and then they give you a $500 bill, and then the car leaves exactly the same, and it feels the same, you're kind of like, what did I pay for? Right? Because you don't understand what was going on with the car. So that's a that's a problem with the mechanic industry, is that we don't explain things to customers properly, and we don't show them the value that they're getting from the money that they're paying. And the way that mechanics are supposed to show value is by explaining to you what is going on with their vehicle, showing you pictures, showing you the old parts that we replaced, showing you things that can happen when these parts go bad, right? That's on the mechanics end. But unfortunately, guys, our industry is not very well run or structured. That's why I, consult for auto repair shops, and I have my own auto repair shops where I set these standards for my shop, so my customers always feel comfortable every time they spend money with me. Okay, so those are the main two ways to know whether or not, or prevent a mechanic from taking advantage of you. And most of it is just a lot of perception, but a lot of it is just being informed of what's going on with your car. It's all about information at the end of the day, and your mechanic, as a professional that works on these vehicles every day, is supposed to be able to do that for you. If they're not doing that for you, then they might be shady, they might not. Most mechanics are pretty good. They won't know how to explain things to people. And this is the main issue I see in the industry when I consult for shops, is I drop in on calls, and then on sales calls with customers after a diagnostic is done, and my mechanics that are selling to the customer, they're explaining things to the customer as if they were talking to me. I'm like, bro, I understand what you're saying. I understand what a timing belt does. I understand what a valve does. I understand what a VTC sensor does. I understand all these. I understand these lingo. The customer has no idea, my boy. You know what I'm saying? So it's a problem that we have in the industry, but I want to inform the public on how to prevent this stuff from happening, so we get a better reputation as mechanics, because unfortunately we don't have a good reputation, and that's why I'm here on YouTube making these videos, so we can all be happy. Okay, because we want to do a good job for you, but we also want to get paid for it, but we also want to make sure that you're not mad, and we want to make sure that you get the value that you pay for. And it's a fine dance that we all got to do, and it always falls on the business owner, but a little responsibility also goes down to the customer. So if you're watching this, I really appreciate you taking the time, and if you are inclined, please leave me a PayPal donate, or buy a shirt at automechanicclub.com, or just hit the like button. That helps as well. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Just fuck around, move around.
It's go time! Yeah, guys, today I'm talking about this racket. Yeah, see this guy?
Think that again. Just fuck around, move around.
It's go time! Go time!
Yep.